Welcome to the first underground floor of the Hall of Origins. Today we're going to take a look at a character from one of the most popular breakout series in the past 10 years. In a series of games that takes the existing characters and changes them up time and time again, it's really refreshing to see a brand new face make his way into the lineup. We were first introduced to this anthropomorphic, it's so hard to say that. We were first introduced to this anthropomorphic alligator, nailed it, back in 2019. In celebration of the 5th anniversary of the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, creator Scott Cawthon released a teaser image on his website of the next game in the series. The photo depicted 4 animatronic characters performing in what appeared to be a shopping mall-like complex with an 80s aesthetic. At the time, it was a little unclear what type of animal this character was supposed to be. I mean, upon first look, it kinda looks like a dinosaur. It wasn't until next year in 2020 when a character list of the names from Funko was leaked. It was then revealed that this character was in fact an alligator, named Montgomery Gator. However, fans would have to wait just a little bit longer to see him in his debut game, as it would be continuously pushed back. So instead, we were introduced to him in the game Fury's Rage, a small adventure to tide the fans over until Security Breach was released. In this game, Montgomery Gator looks just a little bit different than he does in Security Breach. He's much more muscular for one thing. He kinda reminds me of one of the Monstars from Space Jam. He's not the fastest character, but he makes up for it for having the strongest punch attack. And he does have a pretty cool special move. I really love how one of the things he yells when he performs it is Protein Shake! Protein Shake! So after a lengthy period of waiting, in December of 2021, we were finally treated to the release of Security Breach, and got up close and personal with the one and only Montgomery Gator. Monty looks like your generic cartoon alligator, with his primary colors being green and yellow. Strangely enough, his spikes only go up to his tail, instead of his whole body like it does in his Fury's Rage depiction. Maybe it just didn't look as good in 3D and it was omitted. Huh. So keeping with the feel of the 80s, Monty's design has shoulder pads. Yes, this was an actual thing. The red mohawk is an interesting choice, because I would say mohawks in general were more associated with punk rock rather than glam rock, but it looks good, so what the heck. He also sports some stylish star-shaped glasses, which more than likely was probably inspired by the eyewear of Elton John. I will say it's a nice detail that they decided to give him alligator pants. I mean, I hope they're artificial alligator pants and not the real thing, since, you know, that's kinda frowned upon. Monty is the bass player of the band, and thus is outfitted with jagged claws, allowing him to pluck the instrument strings. This feature also lets him bust through iron gates. We hear from the messages you collect throughout the game that Monty goes around breaking fences and the repairs are getting costly, which also leads to his anger issues. It's implied that Monty is a loose cannon, which is most evident at the beginning of the game when Gregory is crawling around in the vents and comes upon Monty's green room, and all you can hear is sounds of him trashing the place. Or he's on the toilet. Later on, when you finally are able to go inside his room, as you would expect, the place is a mess. I don't even know what happened to his mirror. All the other green rooms have one, so you would think that this one would have one too, but there aren't even any broken shards around. Who knows what he did with it? But probably the most telling thing about his rage is the mangled staff bot that's just lying in pieces on the ground. Dang, what did this thing do to make him mad? This gator has some things going on that he needs to work through. When asked, even his voice actor, Cameron Miller, thinks he has problems.
I think he needs a therapist. I think he needs to just sit down and just work through some issues, you know, or go solo, do like Beyonce did and just, you know, go solo.
Monty's signature area of the Pizzaplex is Monty's Gator Golf, which is a swamp-themed miniature golf area that I guarantee they came up with because every miniature golf course had one of those gator traps where you have to hit the ball into its mouth, and they associated it with Montgomery Gator. That's probably what happened. I can't confirm it though. But the environment is pretty cool. It has these orange lights in the trees to simulate fireflies, and the ambience and frogs riveting, but the thing I like the most are these animatronic alligator heads that spring out of the water. It's just a nice choice. Also a gift shop, and yes, I think it is very cool that you can actually bring home one of the alligator heads that jump out at you. The boss battle with Monty is one of the highlights of the game. It takes place above the golf course on a series of catwalks. Monty drops in, strikes a poster pose, and now it's one-on-one. The goal is to go around and use these firing stations to launch balls into a large bucket. When the bucket is full, you can activate a switch to empty its contents all over Monty. This causes him to fall and break into several pieces. In the aftermath, it allows you to collect his claws and upgrade Freddy. With them, he can now break down fences to get to new areas. Now from this point on, Monty can still pursue you, but he's half the gator he used to be. But he can still get you, so watch out. Give this guy an Employee of the Year award. He lost his body, but he's still doing his job. Also, before I get too far away, I want to point out that several glitches were going on during my boss fight with him. And they were kind of funny. At one point, Monty just stood there for the entire fight as if he was admiring my shooting accuracy. At another point, I clipped through the handrails and fell to the golf course below. It was really cool to look up and see the fight still going on. Though I think we all know what should have happened here. Yeah, that would have been sweet. During the end of the game, Monty returns once again. While Chica and Roxy will attack you from the two side doors, Monty will come at you from the vent in the front of the room. When you hear him coming, close the vent to block him. If you don't do this in time, Monty will jump down and start chasing you around the room. I feel bad when I use my phaser blaster on him. So let's discuss some fascinating stuff going on with Monty. Hidden amongst the golf course is an arcade cabinet called, well, it's just called Monty's Gator Golf. Yeah, I know, real original. But it does hold with it some interesting lore. The first hole is somewhat hinting that Monty could have a dislike for Freddy, with him standing by himself and Monty standing in between Chica and Roxy. This distaste for Freddy continues on the final hole, which sees Monty and the rest of the band performing on stage, and Freddy is off to the side in the garbage. Now, it isn't confirmed that Monty hates Freddy, but merely just wants to take over his position as leader of the band, a position he winds up getting in one of the endings when Freddy escapes with Gregory. After Security Breach ended, we would encounter Monty again a year and a half later when its DLC was released. In this add-on to the main game, we follow a new character named Cassie as she searches the derelict Pizzaplex for Gregory. It's not exactly said how much time has gone by, but when we encounter Monty again, he's even less than he was, if you can believe it. He's now whittled down to just his endoskeleton. The only part remaining of his glam rock persona is a little tuft of his red mohawk. It also appears that he's becoming more animalistic, whereas he doesn't speak anymore and just results to grunts and growls. I guess the segment in the water could be seen as his boss battle, or rather, his final obstacle. After comedically falling down some scaffolding, Monty dives into the water, and your task is to make it to the other side, hopping over floating objects so he can't get you. But if you come into contact with the water, it will alert Monty, and he'll start swimming in your direction. But probably the most stressful part is at the end of it, when you have to put your phas wrench into a terminal to open the door while you're standing in the water. Yeah, it's one of those stressful situations where you know he's coming and you have to hurry up. And once the power is back on, Monty gets a controlled shock. Or rather, an uncontrolled shock, really. I don't know what lies in the future for our favorite guitar-playing alligator, but I sure hope he wasn't just a one-and-done character, just showing up for Security Breach and that's it, because I feel that there is so much more that can be done with him. But something tells me we haven't seen the last of this Elton John glasses-wearing alligator.